Start recording. Turn up the volume a little bit. Yeah. And then my goodness, please share screen. Cameras were in my way. We are all the way at the end of the PowerPoint, which is not helpful. There we go. Okay.
I was editing it
It's
earlier,
okay.
no problem.
No, it's all good. Okay. I think we should be good now.
Cool. Hello, everyone. I hope y'all are doing well. Welcome to our meeting. We will be going over the ins and outs of National Disability Employment Awareness Month. To get us started, what is National Disability Employment Awareness Month? So, first off, this is an awareness event that was created to educate the general population on issues faced by disabled workers and how employers can alter their hiring practices to better accommodate disabled workers. This started up after disabled veterans came home after World War II and continued on. Compared to some awareness events that were like, it's kind of, made up by their communities, this one has a good bit of legitimacy behind it, with it being managed by the Office of Disability Employment Policy and support by the Department of Defense and the DOJ. So this reflects the important historical context that we see from disabled veterans, which kind of segue the larger disability access rights. But a lot of times these policy efforts don't really match that enthusiasm. And, we have a big history of administrative support in this month. But the main thing that I see that kind of makes these efforts not transfer over is the fact that disabled people aren't part of these efforts being made, like the planning of these efforts. And we see it reflected by our unemployment rates. The disabled community has more than twice the rate of unemployment compared to non-disabled people. And ultimately, disabled people need to be at the forefront of these labor movements. Because, we know exactly what we're facing in the workplace. I know I had a situation fairly recently with Georgia's Vocational Rehabilitation Agency, which for those of y'all that don't know, Voc Rehab, basically, they are a state program that works to help disabled people acquire skills, education, so that they can go to work. And I'm blind and I'm going to school to be a therapist, and I had a lot of pushback on that because they thought that would limit my ability to be a therapist. But, as a blind person myself, I know my vision has nothing to do with my ability to empathize and help someone. So that's why we need disabled people in every single step of this process, because we know exactly what we're dealing with versus the outside community. But that moves us to our next slide. So what protections do exist for disabled workers in the workplace? So first we have the Americans with Disabilities Act, Title I, which focuses on employment. And if you want to learn more about the ins and outs of what the ADA actually says, you can go to ada.gov and it has all that stuff. And there's a lot of online resources that kind of takes that legalese and makes it a bit more digestible. But basically the gist of this is that, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm so sorry, y'all. It's been a long day. But basically the gist of this is that employers have to provide reasonable accommodations to their disabled employees at every stage of employment. And we'll get more into that later. But first I wanted to start with, what exactly are these laws and how do they protect people? Because when you're advocating for your own rights, you need to know where they come from. So in the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 501 requires employers to take affirmative action to employ and advance the employment of qualified individuals. And the Rehabilitation Act was in part something to help veterans after World War II, and we see a lot of that when it comes to kind of empowering and bulking up disabled rights. So what do reasonable accommodations look like? They can look a lot like a lot of different things. So including this, but not limited to providing or modifying equipment and devices. So, like, for me, if I were to go to a job, they would need to help provide me with a screen reader so that I would be able to access the material as need be. Part-time or modified work schedules, adjusting training materials or policies in the workplace to better accommodate disabled employees, providing readers, I believe those are the screen readers, interpreters, as well as allowances and dress codes. So this could look a lot of different ways, and a good resource to kind of give you more of an idea of like the specifics of what this could look like for your disability or your needs would be the Job Accommodation Network, and that's at askjan.org. And that's all separated by, you know, what exactly are you needing to accommodate, whether it's disability, specific struggle, and it'll give you a full idea of what exactly you can ask for. Because I know that's, when it comes to educational accommodations, certainly, and workplace accommodations, it's kind of a, I don't know where to start. I know I need something, but I don't know what that looks like. So that's a good resource to kind of give you an idea of what it can look like. So what employment practices are covered? Basically everything from recruitment to leave to when you're being laid off, everything. It's all covered under the ADA. So in part, something I want to make sure y'all know is to ensure that you have protections under the ADA, you do need to disclose your disability during the application process. So let's say you have, because I know a common question I've been asked in the past is, if I say that I have a disability, is that going to change something? It shouldn't, but that anxiety around it is plausible. I definitely understand it. But if you are going to be needing accommodations in the workplace, that disclosure in the application is what is going to make sure you are protected under the ADA. Like, let's say you don't mark that and later on you disclose to your employer because you need those accommodations. In states like Georgia, which are right to work states, you can be let go from your job. So to give you an idea of what right to work state means, basically that means our unions aren't as strong through state policy. So a lot of it has to do with labor rights and labor movement, and you can look more into that if you'd like. But as it applies to disabled employees, this basically means, sorry, y'all got my notes. This basically means employees have top rights when it comes to discussing what they can and can't do. Employees are valued over employers are valued above employees in right to work states, which basically means that, sorry y'all, which just shines a light on generally just kind of a weakness that we know exists in the ADA. So earlier when I mentioned reasonable accommodations, a weakness in the ADA is that the reasonable is defined by the employer, not the employee, which, you know, when we come back to, you know, non-disabled employers not knowing the ins and outs of disability, that's where we can run into some trouble. So in right to work states like Georgia, if my boss believes that my blindness is going to impact my ability to do the job, he can let me go, and that's within his right. Which is not ideal, and that is a change of policy that we need to see to better protect disabled employees and to give some more teeth into the ADA so that we can enforce it with the full extent. So this is kind of a gap that we continue to see, and what you'll see within disability rights, disability policy, disabled employment is there's a lot of gaps, unfortunately, and that's where we still have a lot of work to be done. So let's see. So to reiterate, your boss in right to work states, your boss doesn't actually need a reason to fire you. It's within their right. They have that, and that's certainly not ideal. Oh, hey, how are you?
Doing good. Sorry, I was at team practice.
No, it's all good.
So I'm sorry, I'm trying to find my place. Okay, so basically we got a hole in the ADA that basically means reasonable is defined by your employer, which kind of leaves some weakness open for disabled employees, and that's where we need to start to see some change. So what are some remaining challenges for disabled workers? For one, we have just continued discrimination. I don't know about you, but every time I look at a job application, there's commonly a requirement of needing to lift at least 40 pounds. because my back, I can't lift 40 pounds. But a lot of times this will be a requirement in a job where that's not actually needed. It's like front desk receptionist, you need to lift 40 pounds. That's not really something we actually need. It's just kind of something that's being used within the application to try to weed people out, which is something that, we see commonly throughout the workplace of kind of undermining disabled perspectives and disabled work ethic for these reasons. So, and we have also a continued barrier is the added cost of living. Something that you'll hear is the quote unquote disability tax. So something I had recently was I had to buy myself prescription sunglasses to help my eye strain from my vision impairment. That's not something I would have needed to buy if I wasn't disabled. So, those sorts of purchases that you need to buy to accommodate your disability, those add up, which makes it harder to obtain a livable wage. And on top of this, if you are receiving disability benefits, whether that's SSI or SSDI, there are income limits, which means basically you can't have more than, I want to say it's around $2,000 in your bank account, which kind of keeps disabled people in poverty. First of all, that's great.
And in addition to that, that also includes when you get married, it
Yes.
puts a limit on how much your spouse can make as well before you lose your disability benefits.
Yes.
So that's something that I meant to put on this PowerPoint and I forgot. So
But basically, this kind of reinforces and kind of enables disabled people to stay in poverty, to struggle to keep their employment because they're trying to keep their benefits, which a lot of times means trying to keep their health care, which is of course huge. So on top of this, we have, if there's a lack of accessible transportation, housing around places of employment. I know for me, I had to choose my housing based off of if I could get transport to campus to work. And that's something that, we're having to factor in when it comes to employment, when it comes to every decision we're making. As well as sub-minimum wage. Does anyone here know about sub-minimum wage? Besides me. All right. So this is gonna blow your mind a little bit because it's just wrong. So under section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act, there is a section that basically says if a business applies for a certificate, they can pay disabled employees less than minimum wage. And this is something that we've seen continually, people making cents an hour, just because they're kind of labeled to be less productive, and people will kind of rationalize this by saying, at least I'm hiring them in the first place. But this isn't a legitimate reason because they're still doing that work, they're still doing significant work, and they're being exploited in the process because our minimum wage as it is not a living wage, much less below that minimum wage. And then alongside this, we have a continued reluctance to consider accommodations as reasonable. Prior to the pandemic, a lot of disabled workers were advocating to work from home because this would just be more doable for them. That would enable them to be more productive and a better employee. And it was denied over and over again. But then when the pandemic came, it was done overnight because everyone needed it. But so, that creates limits for disabled employees based off of non-disabled perspectives, if that makes sense, which, definitely negatively impacts the livelihood of disabled people. So these next steps, what does it look like? What do we need to do? First of all, combat sub-minimum wage. About 14 states have passed legislation to prohibit sub-minimum wage. Georgia, just about every legislative session, we've got people fighting for the same thing. It hasn't quite gotten through. So if you believe in this, please call your representatives. We love to hear it. We love to hear people contact representatives, hold them accountable to, pass good law. Alongside this, we need to be continuing access that opened by the pandemic. A lot of workplaces are trying to kind of make people come back to the office, which, might not be as doable for certain employees, and that could definitely continue to impact livelihood. So we need to be continuing to open up these discussions. And I think in part of the pandemic did open up like the idea of like, this is an option. It's an option to work from home. These non-traditional ways of finding employment are doable. So, it shouldn't have taken a pandemic to make that happen, certainly, but I think those conversations are more open than they were. And next we have universal paid family and medical leave, raising wages, updating social safety net programs, and reforming disability benefit restrictions. And some of these are things that we're hearing a lot from the labor movement at large, like these recent strikes that we're seeing in Hollywood among UPS workers, etc. These recent labor strikes are needed, and they have to include disability justice because, in general, we're getting kind of the brunt of the bad law that we're already seeing. Alongside this, we're also seeing increases in disabled entrepreneurship. In general, we see a higher percentage of self-employment among people with disabilities. And when you're starting your own company, you have the power to use universal design from the start. Okay. So next up, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, which I'm very excited for. We have Aarti Sahgal from Synergies Work. Synergies Work is a nonprofit based in Atlanta that serves nationally, and they are based on helping disabled entrepreneurs start sustainable businesses.
Thank you, Jill, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Good evening. We have a small group, so we'll make the most of this. I have a presentation, but I'd rather start with you people introducing yourselves. So if you can take a minute to unmute yourself and let me know why you are here today.
We can start with our couple of in-person students if we'd like.
Okay.
Of course, Jill.
Yes. Hey, Jill.
Hi.
Good to see you. Hi.
And then I am Gray, so I'm the secretary for SDAG. And then we've got 3 students who joined us. I will say some of them are here under an extra credit assignment, and so they might not necessarily be here specifically for disabled employment, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. So extra credits for what? Just give me an idea of what who's here in the room, please.
We have a pretty broad group. I believe 2 of the students in here in person are here for criminal justice classes.
Okay.
So we have just because of the importance of understanding the intersectionality with disability relating to like interactions in the criminal justice system, and how in this case we could make the connection about how these issues of work can definitely lead to resorting to criminal activity in order to survive. So
definitely impacts recidivism, I imagine.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh yeah, it's much harder for especially disabled former inmates to find jobs. So that's kind of one of the main groups of people that we have as extra credit students.
Okay.
And then we have a member that is in here as well.
Okay, awesome. So are there many people virtually there, or anything that I need to look out for? Let me know, please.
Yeah, of course. It is just 3 students in person and then the ones that you can see online.
Okay, awesome. So I'll just share my screen from here, and
yes, should be able to give you permission for that. Give me 1 second. I think I need to unshare first. Okay,
so guys, my name is Aarti Sahgal, and as Gray mentioned, I run a nonprofit, Synergies Work. I am also a parent. I have 2 sons, and my younger son has Down syndrome. He's the reason why I do what I do. I sit on the board of Georgia APSI, which is an association of people supporting employment first. And then I also sit on the board of Georgia State Rehabilitation Council. This is the organization that Jill mentioned earlier. Vocational rehabilitation has a board which oversees the working of that organization, and clearly, as volunteers, none of us have been able to do much good with the Georgia vocational rehabilitation. So wanted to put that out right there. Today, I'm going to share with you about entrepreneurship, or what we call in the disability world, supported self-employment. But there is no employment in this world which is not supported. Okay, so I object to that word. I want to put that out immediately there, so that every work that we do is supported. And just because we are talking to people with disabilities, we like to use fancy words which kind of label and put them in a box. So that is not something that I'm very in favor of. So our work that we do at Synergies Work is really about igniting a change. If we are talking about employment, as you heard earlier, there is a huge unemployment gap that exists in the nation. Almost close to 80% or more of folks with disabilities are unemployed. And we have been doing this for a long time, since the ADA Act was passed in 1933. There were a lot of good things that have come out from the ADA Act, but one of the parameters of the Act was to bring out economic equity, and that is something that we have not been able to do. So, and I will just touch upon this briefly, but then also share what is entrepreneurship. Is there anybody in the group who's interested in wanting to start their own business?
I am kind of very slowly starting up my own art business with a couple of friends and on my own of selling things that I crochet. So I know I'm very interested in the aspect of that.
And that's great.
Yeah, sorry, this is great, by the way.
Okay, awesome. Is there anybody else who's interested in starting their business?
I believe you know this, but SDAG was recently established as a nonprofit. I'm still definitely learning as I go, though. So,
okay, that's good to know. That is good to know. Let's move this forward. I'm just going to move this back. So, as I said, the reason why I do this work is because I'm a mother, and that's my why. My younger son has Down syndrome. And when he was born, there were not many, actually, he was born in India. And at that time, there weren't any resources for him in India. But I was very clear that we wanted to give him the same resources that we would to our older child. But as luck would have it, he went to a great private school. He was the first person with Down syndrome who got accepted to that private school. Post that, they sent 2 teachers to the United States, and they have done their PhD in special education now, thanks to Angad. But when he was only 4 years old, we got transferred as a family from India to Atlanta. My husband worked for Coke for close to 23 years, so it was part of the package that he got transferred from India to Atlanta, Coca-Cola. And I think we were very privileged because we were given all the supports that we needed to settle into this new country, including the IDEA law. The IDEA law is the law that governs the special education of students with disabilities. And I must have read that book from back to cover and back so many times. But in reality, what happens is there are 2 different worlds that exist amongst us. One is for people with disabilities, and one is for people without disabilities. And that's a true fact. In one world, there are limited resources, and you're constantly facing what I call the soft bigotry of low expectations. The bar is kept very low. While the idea talks about full inclusion and least restrictive environment, children get segregated pretty early in the school system under the garb of special education. And that's where they have a parallel education system that flows through. And if you have an IEP, that is an individualized educational plan in the school, you are allowed to be in the school till to age of 21, or I'm saying till you hit your birthday in 22. But once you graduate from school, there aren't any resources. But guess what? Because there is no special world that exists outside the school system. You might be going to a special program, you might be attending special soccer, special music, all of that. But once you graduate from school, you're falling off the cliff. There is no special world that exists. You're expected to find a job, and that job does not happen just automatically, because how do we get to find jobs? It is not through the applications online. It is actually, generally speaking, through who knows who opens the door for you, who tells the hiring employer, hey, she's a great person or he's a great person that you must look at. So it's on social networks that make a difference. But if you're living in an isolated world, that social network, fabric of social network doesn't exist for you. in the general population, as we say, there are all of these abundant opportunities, and also if you fail, you are seen as a success story, because that failure is going to be the stepping stone for success. While if a person with a disability fails, it's almost like, yeah, we knew it. We knew it, that person is going to fail. So how do we bridge these two gaps? And that was something that I was struggling with as a parent when I started sending my son to the pre-K. I joined the Parent to Parent of Georgia, which is a support parent network resource organization here. And I was like, if I am so privileged to know the language, have the money, but still not able to get the services for my child, how many other parents would be there who would be struggling for the same reasons? And that's been my journey. I spent 14 years with the Georgia Council on Developmental Disabilities as a consultant on building community, inclusive communities, leading projects on talking about inclusive workforce programs. And somewhere around 6 years ago, it was my older son started his own company. And I looked around. I went to some of the incubators, accelerators in the state, in Atlanta, and asked them, hey, is there an opportunity if a person with a disability would come and apply? Can we partner with you? Can there be someone who can go through your incubator accelerator? And they gave me the cold shoulder. So out of just sheer big-headedness, let me say that, I decided to start my own incubator accelerator that would support entrepreneurs with disabilities. And that's what we did. I say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. As I said, the ADA was passed in 1933. For the past 33 years, we have been talking about closing the employment gaps, but we continue to talk about wage employment and not look at entrepreneurship or business for folks with disabilities for some strange reason. And I will share some of those reasons now. So we are doing the same thing and are expecting that we will find a different result. So that's what I call insanity, really. Why do we say that this is such a huge market that has not been tapped till now? Because does anybody know what a micro business is? Anyone, just take a guess. What do you think micro business would be? Take a wild guess. It's self-explanatory. Come on.
I'm thinking just very small business, like less than 5 employees sort of thing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's actually less than 10 employees, including the owner of the business. And these micro businesses are the ones that you see all across you. They are the dry cleaners in your strip malls. They are the people who are providing tutoring services, your UPS franchises that are there. They're all micro businesses. And they constitute 92% of all the nation's businesses. And they are responsible for more than 40 million jobs. And yet, we do not see entrepreneurs with disabilities in this ecosystem. Do you know of any entrepreneur in your local community who has a disability? Probably not. Probably not. This is a very rough estimation by us. There is hardly any research done on self-employment and the disability community, because till now, vocational rehab and the state organizations and our university systems have done some periodic seeding of entrepreneurship, what they call self-employment, but it has not been sustainable. It has not been sustainable. While there are more people with disabilities are twice as likely to set up their own businesses, they're also 10 times more likely to fall through the cracks, because there is such wide disparity that exists between the technical knowledge that is provided, financial knowledge that can be provided, and as I said, most importantly, the social network and the social capital that exists. This is a simple, I think couple of years back, Department of Labor had done a little research on disabled founders and the non-disabled founders businesses. And what we found that the businesses which are run by non-disabled people are 20% in the first year, 20% of them are likely to fail, and by year 5, 50% of them are likely to fail. However, we have been working on this since now close to 5 years, but we have really started tabulating our businesses from the fall of 2020. Since that time, we have found that people with disabilities, when given the right supports, are 65% more likely to succeed than under non-disabled entrepreneurs. And what could be the reason? I would say that if I were to tell you that disabled entrepreneurs have a naturally born entrepreneurs, anybody can take a guess and tell me why I believe that the people with disability are born entrepreneurs. What is the let's say, what defines an entrepreneur?
I feel like as disabled people, we're more likely to be like innovative problem solvers.
Absolutely. They are likely to be more innovative problem solvers. They have the resilience. They are every day dealing with an ableistic world and finding solutions for themselves. They're persevering. And that is the most important thing for if you are setting up a business. You have to get ready to fail. And you have to get ready and get up and say, yes, I'm going to do it again and again, because there is that's what business means. It's like running on a treadmill, as I say. And if you stop, you're likely to fall. So what does it take to set up a sustainable and a scalable business? So if you think that this is going outside the domain, Jill, Gray, stop me anytime, okay? We say that you should know your why or a purpose, irrespective of whether you're setting up a business. I know all of you are students. You should know your why and what your purpose is. You should have the business knowledge. You should have the financial supports. Money is important. And then finally, the social capital. So let's talk about the most interesting part, which is the why or the purpose. Now, all of you are pursuing a career, whether it is in whatever, art or criminal justice or disability studies. But do you know why you are doing that? Is there anything that, actually the fact is that you guys are sitting here at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. So there must be some compelling reason other than marks and the whatever grades that you would be getting. So I would love to hear what drives you to do what you do. What makes you, do you feel excited in the morning when you get up and say, yeah, one more day where I'm ready to get to the class and delve into it? Just makes my heart sink when I am studying this subject. Anyone?
I know I can say that I finished my psychology undergrad and I am now in my criminology master's, and I really do get excited about the closer that I'm getting to being able to work in the criminal justice system, specifically in rehabilitation and corrections, and just like the impact that I can have on both individual people's lives and perhaps on a widespread scale. So just like that idea of good change is what kind of drives me.
And if I were to ask you, and this might not be the right time, but you might want to delve into why do you get excited by the work you do? And that is like, if you can articulate it in words, if you can, all of you can go back and ask your friends, your family, and even the friends that you might have dropped on the way and ask them, hey, what is it about me that you miss? What is about me that shows up in the times of difficulties and times of happiness? What is that thing that you like about me? That, and if you can reflect back on your lives and talk about how there might be a pattern in your lives that you are seeing where you show up consistently, like maybe you are the person who shows up whenever your friends need help. You are constantly always there when they show up. So you are the person who will always be that person who gives the support and holds up to them when everybody has lost hope for them. So that could be a driving motive for your why. So we need to find out, even when we are designing starting a business, what is it? What is the why that drives the business? Not what you are making or how you are going to sell it. What is important in life is the purpose which drives your work. And that translates into your employment, whether it is your business or your career or a job, whatever you do. And maybe it will not be your what you do, but it will be your why. If you know, it will show up in everything else that you do in life. So we start with when we are talking to our founders, we want them to articulate their why. Because let's take an example of an organization that you all know, which is the Apple. Is there anybody who's a Mac user here? No.
I am.
Okay, that's great. Why do you use an Apple?
They have the best accessibility for me.
The Microsoft doesn't provide you that accessibility?
Not in the same way, no. Apple has it kind of built in.
Okay.
More extensive.
Yeah.
More expensive? Yeah.
Extensive.
Okay. Extensive. Okay. But Jill, you are not a Mac user.
So that's the Mac user.
That was me just now. Yes.
Okay, that was you. But Gray, you are not.
No.
Gray is not. Gray.
As a matter of
hates using my
fact,
computer.
yeah, I really dislike Mac computers. I like Apple products otherwise, but I don't like their computers.
Okay. So, there is a fundamental, you will talk about accessibility, just built-in accessibility, but that probably might not be the reason why you bought it, really. So when Steve Jobs, suppose you have to buy a Mac product, an Apple product, they don't sell it by saying, hey, it has so many different beautiful features. It is user-friendly, it's a beautiful color, come buy it. When they launched it, they said, hey, we are different from every other product in the marketplace. If you want to think differently, if you are breaking the status quo, then this is the product which is not only user-friendly, which is not only beautiful, and which is not only accessible, but it is also that. So come buy us. So there was an affinity, there was a why that was woven into the product of Apple. You know the Wright brothers. Everybody knows the Wright brothers who invented the airplane. But does anybody know about Samuel Langley? Probably not. Okay. But Samuel Langley was really the astronomer. He was affiliated to the Harvard Business School or Harvard School of Astronomy and Mathematics. He was well known in his field. He got a huge sum at that time, around the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, $50,000 to create an airplane, an aircraft that would be heavier than the air and that would fly people from one place to the other. He had phenomenal friends. Carnegie, Graham Bell were his friends. So he had the network that existed. He had the New York Times following every minute and every work that he was doing as he was designing and trying to build an aircraft. So he had all the perfect ingredients to be successful. Yeah, and the other hand, we had the Wright brothers who didn't even go to the high school. Both the brothers didn't go to high school. They lived in Ohio. They ran a bike shop. They had no money. But they had a group of supporters, their own people who worked with them and outside who were supporting them. But they had a why. They knew why they were building this aircraft. They had a passion for it. There's a story that goes that every time they went out to test their prototype, they would take 5 sets of different pieces because they would crash, they would try again, they would crash, they would try again. Then they would try at least 5 times before they said, okay, fine, we'll come back and try again. And as we know, in 1905, it was the Wright brothers who flew 120 feet above ground and did some coverage from North Carolina. Nobody covered that story, right? There was no press sitting in the corners waiting for them to make that big thing. Yet they were the people who were inspired by their why to make a difference, and not Samuel Langley, who had all the money and the networks. And another reason that shows that he was not inspired by his why, but by the what, that he wanted prestige and power and fame that he was going after, is that when he found out the Wright brothers had been successful, instead of saying, hey, this is a great invention that you made, let me go back and help and see how I can make it better, he quit. He decided, this is not for me, I don't want to do it anymore. So people who know what they're doing and they're inspired by their whys, they will not be, hopefully, discouraged by the challenges that they face. So at this time, before I go in, I want to put a challenge to everybody in this room. And I would love to hear. Let's presume that you have only $5 and I give you 1 hour or 2 hours, let's say in the next 45 minutes, to come up with a business plan to make money. Can you think of innovative ideas to make money with $5 and this limited time right now to this group? That's a challenge. And that we will touch, we will want to know if you have that spirit in you, the entrepreneurial spirit. Any ideas, any innovative ideas outside the box. Think. Rest, Robert, I can see something. You're on mute.
The first thing that came to mind was some sort of like street performance. I remember
You're a performer.
growing up as a kid, like if you're in like big cities, like be walking past somebody and someone would say, "Hey, come over here, let me show you something." They would go into detail, like very like fast, and they say, "Just give me like $2 and I show you this one cool trick I'll show." And then they might like, I don't know, do like some not as like ultra cool as like David Blaine, but they might do something where you take $1, they go like this, it vanishes, and they make something else pop up, and something.
What's your trick?
Yeah. Like
what would you do?
I guess.
What would you do?
Probably something along those lines. I would try to like start searching and figure out something I could do, because I don't even know how to use the $5. I'll probably just save it, add it to the pot.
Okay, that's fair enough. Any other ideas? Okay, I'm not giving up. Okay, in a couple of minutes, I'll come back and maybe you'll have some innovative ideas. But thank you, Robert. That was really nice. I've not heard that one before. So these are some of the people that we all know who are leading with purpose, right? We know Martin Luther King, we know Mahatma Gandhi. He was actually Mohanchand Gandhi, and we now in India call him Mahatma. Mahatma is a man who has even a bigger immortal soul. That's what. So it was not that he was a small, thin, 5 feet kind of a guy, an attorney who changed the destiny of 1 billion people of India through nonviolence. And so has Martin Luther King inspired people to change the history of this country. Now, why did people show up to listen to Dr. King in DC on that hot day? They were not showing up to listen to him because they were listening to, when he said, "I believe, I believe, I believe," they were really listening, "We believe, we believe, we believe." It was a connection. He was inspiring them, creating a place of belonging, having common values and belief systems, and inspiring people. There was no social media at that time, no Instagram at that time. And yet millions of people came up in buses to listen to him, right? They were the legends. They were the legends. Steve Jobs, whatever his personal stories might be, the point is that he changed the way we interact with computers, whether it was iPod, iTunes, or our iWatches. He did not actually invent any one of them, but he inspired people to invent them, right? He inspired his team, his company to bring that. He inspired people so much, his customers so much, that you see the tattoo of an apple at the back of a car, which has nothing to do with a computer. You see a tattoo on the legs, on the faces of people. You see a whole lot of tattoos on people's arms. So this is creating passion and irrational loyalty that transcends time and culture across. And what is that? How does that happen? It is when people are leading with their whys. They are not selling products. They are not selling how or what they're making, but they're selling a why that they're making. So every business needs to start with a why. And everything has to pick a purpose. So you can be doing something like, I love to crochet, okay? But I might be love to sing, but I'm not good at singing. Okay, I might be love to sing, I might be good at singing, but am I creating value for it in the world? Or will someone pay me money for it? When all the four circles intersect, that in the center is what we call earth in Synergies Work. It's an Indian word which means purpose, the life's purpose. So try and find out what is your purpose. Then that will help you decide where you are going to land up. It doesn't matter whether you become an entrepreneur, set up a business or not, but as long as you have an entrepreneurial spirit, that is important. So I'm going to play a story of this lady, Brianna, and she interprets her purpose in life in the work that she does. So take a look at it and then tell me if that makes sense. Uh-oh.
My name is Brianna. I paint on clothing with a purpose. To empower others to break free from the ordinary and embrace their authentic selves, no matter how weird or different they may seem. At Chaos and Anarchy, we love ourselves and wear our weirdness with pride. I started Chaos and Anarchy 2 years ago when I finally realized that the only way I was ever going to find the kind of jacket I was looking for was if I made it myself. Operating without the proper user manual, I just started painting. My whole life felt like that, as if I was operating without the proper user manual, trying to fit in with the humans, only to find myself on the sidelines watching the game. It wasn't until I turned 30 that I learned the truth about who I was. As an autistic adult who is just starting to realize the positive impact of self-acceptance, art had always been an escape. Art allowed me to conceptualize, reimagine, and reframe a world I didn't understand. It provided me with a safe space to transform my painful reactions to traumatic situations into a renewed sense of identity and strength. When listening to my own intuition felt averse, art provided my voice. My hand-painted clothing is not just wearable art, but a statement of self-expression that allows people to embrace their unconventional side with pride and joy. My hand-painted clothing is a way for people to show the world who they are without apology, allowing them to wear their individuality on their sleeve, or collar, or pant leg, or shoes, wherever they like. Becoming an entrepreneur has been an incredibly tough journey for me. I don't always understand social cues, and I can sometimes be awkward in social situations. But I've also always been creative and artistic, so it's only a matter of time before I find a workaround. One of the most daunting challenges I've had to confront is marketing. Trying to connect with my ideal customer.
So I just wanted you to hear from her what this means to be an entrepreneur, right? You get Brianna, she is who she is, and she has so seamlessly incorporated her purpose into the work that she does. Does that make sense? Yeah, she is who she is, and she looks like, I don't give a damn about what the world thinks. This is who I am. And she carries herself so beautifully. She speaks herself beautifully, and she has articulated her business by herself. So now you're not buying just hand-painted clothes or wearable art, but you're buying individuality. You are buying myself. I see myself reflected in her clothes, and I want to wear that because it shows that I am as individual and as different as the art that she is creating. So that's what it means by setting your business purpose and able to articulate it well. How do we support founders with disabilities? We have a framework of support which is very simple. We support them at every stage of their journey, from ideation to when they're ready to become sustainable. So you might be a person who's just thinking of setting up a business but don't know what to do. So you're an aspiring founder. We have a 7-week program. In this 7-week program, we work with you for every Wednesday. We meet for 2 hours with a cohort of not more than 20 people and allow you to define your business. And you walk away from this 7 weeks with a free EIN number, a free website, and a free email for 1 full year to test that idea. You also get one-on-one support from somebody from Synergies Work. Then if you already have a business, you're ready to scale, we have a more intensive 12-week program where we bring in business leaders from outside. They will be actually the subject matter experts, executive leaders from Coca-Cola, from big branding and marketing companies, who will guide you every week through a topic, and we will also provide you mentors and one-on-one support through these 13 weeks. At the end of these 12 weeks, you have a chance to present your business. It's a demo day to a small group of business leaders. It also gives an opportunity, when we bring in these business leaders and subject matter experts, not only what is current that is sharing with the group, but also allowing you to build that social contract and network with these leaders, which you might otherwise not have. Money is important, so that's our other area of focus. We provide, at the end of this incubate program, you're also eligible to apply for a grant. But parallelly, because we are just a nonprofit, we raise and we spend money. We have now become the first community development financial institution in the nation that will provide microloans to disabled founders. We're going to be announcing that next month, and hopefully by the end of the year, the next year we'll have a certification in process. The idea is to close the financial gap that exists currently. And finally, we are talking about creating a venture tech studio, which will be a kind of closing the technology gap that exists between small businesses run by people with disabilities and the rest of the world. Technology is an important part of our lives. There is nothing that we do, including running a business, without technology, but somehow it seems to have skipped folks with disabilities. So we want to bring that and close that gap for us founders. Building sustainably, that is something that we have been working tirelessly for. And this is something that has been instrumental for the work that we do at Synergies Work, because launching a company is easy. Writing a business plan is more easy today because you have ChatGPT. I give them the few topics and guidelines. It can come up with a better business plan than anybody else can ever come up with. But what it cannot come up with is, how do I sustain my business in year 1, year 2, and year 5? So what we have, and after this, I will take you to the platform so that you can see it for yourself. But if you go onto our website, and right there in the middle, there is a tab that allows you to become a member of the platform. That platform has live currently 199 disabled founders who have access to all the resources that have been created by our own one of our entrepreneurs, or actually a couple of them, who have written articles and content as business owners. We have someone who is looking at grants on a monthly basis and picking up a few grants and then condensing them and making them accessible for our founders. More importantly, we have every month meetups where founders meet on a monthly basis, because this is the community, an asset-rich community by itself. And we find that when we organize these community meetups, a lot of fun stuff happens. Hey, I'm looking for a graphic artist, or hey, I'm looking for someone to open a door for me in Texas. Okay, I'm there, I can help you, or I can do something for you, and their barter system of services happens, or sheer networking happens. And conversations beyond business also happen in these community meetups. Hey, I have problem keeping eating healthy, or keeping nutrition top of my mind when I get engrossed. Oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? So a lot of fun stuff happens in these community perks. We also have a majority of other perks that are available to our founders right there on this platform. Then we invite every month subject matter experts and master classes for these master classes. I know on Thursday we have Nicholas Love, who is a senior guy at World Institute on Disability, and he'll be talking about social security benefits and entrepreneurship. But we also bring in most of the time business leaders from the business community. Somebody is talking about how PR works for small businesses. Next month, it is going to be a head of an advertising agency, Moto here in Atlanta, who will be talking about branding for virtual businesses, how important it is. What do you need to keep a lookout on? I don't know. Maybe she'll come up with something more. But these are the topics that we have been debating with her. So there is tons of information that allows our entrepreneurs to remain sustainable, because we know life happens. If you've gone through the program, you always have access to reach back and ask for office hours to find somebody to answer your question also. Any questions till now? Yeah.
I'm sorry, not a question, but before you go through the portal, the learning hub, we're gonna have to wrap up before then. But you can find all of this on synergieswork.org. And thank you so much for coming and talking with us, Aarti.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all learned a lot. But if anyone has any questions, please ask them. Yes.
Okay, that's the website. Okay, sorry. I will just put it for everyone. Okay. Any questions? No. Thank you so much for listening to me. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Aarti. We appreciate it.
And we really appreciate like how passionate you are about this and just how much this means to you. Like you can tell when you're talking about it how important the subject is to you, and it really means a lot.
I love it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It does mean a lot to me, and all the best to all of you. Take care. Bye-bye.
And for everyone with extra credit, y'all can put that in the chat. I know Gentry and Tessame already put theirs in. Not sure. I don't recognize the rest of y'all, but welcome to SDAG. But yes, if y'all are extra credit students and already put it in the chat, y'all feel free to go. And if y'all would like to get further involved with SDAG, y'all can find our link tree, and that has our Discord and everything else in it. Why can you walk this?
Never.
I was just bragging on Apple, and they really said no.
Apple did not like that.
No, it did not.
No, we need to give out a new update. Why are you saying it's so good already?
It's been 2 years since we got rid of it.
Pretty much.
All right. I put that link in the chat, but it was good seeing y'all. I hope y'all have a good night. And our next meeting, it will be October 31st. We'll be doing a mental health general body meeting. We'll be doing some arts and crafts. And if you join online, we'll be sending out some Halloween crafts.
Like some coloring sheets.
Some coloring sheets, yes. But I know that we have some new people, so if y'all want to continue to be involved, please feel free to leave your email in the chat. But thanks so much.
I have a question. You said it was on the next meeting is on the 31st. Which room number and building is it located on the Statesboro campus? I'm zooming in through the Savannah, but I could possibly make it down there once I know the location.
We'll be at Russell Union 2044.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely love having, new people come join us and, whether you join us through Zoom or through in person. We've definitely had a lot of new faces so far this semester. So it's very nice to see you. Nice to meet you. And we hope to see you there.
Oh, he's a karate student.
Cool. Yeah, we got lots of those. She's my supervisor. I'm her graduate assistant, and I absolutely love her so much. She was actually the first professor to be like, "Hey, what if I started offering your club as extra credit?" And I was like, "Girl,
came up with the extra credit idea.
She did." And now we have I think 9 professors that are working with us. So it's like, no, it's super cool. But yeah, no, we would love to see you more. And I have you down as well, I believe. Let me double check.
I got a picture of it as well because I had to grab his email.
Oh, cool.
Or somebody else's email.
Yes. Oh, your Homeland Security. Cool. We haven't had super many of her Homeland Security students come
I think
in.
the only other one is with Jacob.
Yeah. But cool.
And it's Russell Union 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, that is our room that we have had for this whole semester. And so like any other meetings, I think we'll have 1, maybe 2 more after that one. We'll also be in that same room.
Yeah, we'll have 2 more after the Halloween one.
So, and then we'll make sure to send out an update next semester if anything changes. But this is the room we typically try to go for because it is
less sad. It has windows.
It actually has windows. And it's big enough. So, but cool. But yes, so yeah, I'm just super curious. Lawrence, are you a community member or are you somebody at Georgia Southern?
Yeah, Georgia Southern email.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I was just super curious. He was our first person to join, so cool.
Gotcha.
All right.
All right. Well, it's good seeing y'all. We're gonna let you go, but that next meeting is October 31st, 6:30, Russell Union 2044, or online. All right. Y'all have a good one.